episode. This is a Kingdom Chat, but today I have my best friend here with me, so it's gonna be a different Kingdom Chat. A long time ago, I posted a question box and asked everybody to give me topics on what to talk about, and somebody actually did tell me to do friendships, like the ending of friendships, although whatever, we're gonna get into it. And so we're gonna talk about, but I want to title it like communication, because it's because of communication that healthy relationships, healthy friendships happen, boundaries, all of that. So that's what we're gonna talk about. This is CJ. CJ, say hi.
What up?
And then we're gonna do like a best friend tag at the end of this.
Yes.
And we're also right now we're in New Orleans, so I'll probably put a little bit of clips from the trip in this.
We got a lot of clips, dog.
We got a lot of clips.
Dog.
All right, so we're gonna get started.
CJ, also CScopes CEO, dropping this new show, YouTube channel, coming this summer. Look out for that. She'll plug y'all in.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into the communication. Talk about what a healthy friendship looks like. Talk about boundaries and all that. So, there was a point where, and as close as we may seem, we used to, what do you call it? I don't want to say arguing, because we weren't really arguers. I'm not an arguer. I'm not going to stay on the phone with you and argue. It's just not going to happen. But we used to get into it a lot. And that results in like, bro, stop talking to me. Like a couple days not talking.
I'm not an arguer.
I would like try to end that friendship. I would be like, bro, I don't want to be your friend. He'd be like,
sounds good.
Yeah, I would never forget. I called him one day and I was like, this is not working for me. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't think that we should be friends. And he was like, I don't agree. I was like, excuse you. So then I had to go pray about it, because I'm like, there's no way. So I prayed about it, then I called him back like, nah, I just don't think. He was like, look, do what you got to do. Take your time, right? Because the one thing that really used to like make me mad about CJ, and we laugh about it now because we really learned how to talk to each other, but when I'm serious, I get really, really serious, and he's very, very goofy. And so I felt like he didn't respect me.
Oh, you used to say that all the time, bro.
I felt like he didn't respect me.
You don't respect me.
I'm being serious, and he's playing, like, he's laughing, and I'm like, but it's not funny. And so he would laugh, I hang up on him. Like, it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. But we've learned how to communicate, so talk a little bit about communication.
Yeah, man. I mean, communication for me started when I was in grad school. I grew up very straightforward. Like, my mom will tell you, like, she wasn't somebody that sugarcoated nothing. She didn't care how I felt about how things were delivered. She would just give it to you. And my brother as well, and I grew up in that environment. So playing football, that was something that I was used to as well. Like, my coaches did not care how they delivered it. They didn't care the language they used. They would just give it to you. And because I grew up like that, I was so used to that. So when my coaches gave it to me, I never was one of those players that was like, oh, he hate me. It was like, no, like, I'm used to this. Like, he loves me, And I would speak to other people that way, thinking that that was okay, especially women. I didn't realize, how the dynamic between, the difference between talking to a man and talking to a woman had to be. Until I was in grad school, and I learned the hard way that that's not the case. And when I met her, I had just started to learn how to transition my approach into communicating. And I am very goofy. And honestly, to be honest, I was never really like that growing up. I was always so serious. So somebody said something to me that spoke into my life, and that's why I got so goofy. They didn't take nothing serious. I would just make light out of everything. And it wasn't that I didn't respect her. It was just like, for me, I thought she was joking. Like, I really would think that she was joking in those moments. And she would like, we would be done with a call, and like, she'd ignore me for like a day. I'm like, oh no, you're dead. Like, you're dead serious. And I had to learn, like, okay, like, there's gotta be, some type of limit to me being a jokester, and understanding there's a time to play, and there's a time to dance, and there's a time to be serious. So, and I learned that the hard way with her, with her being frustrated with me not respecting her, which that wasn't the case, and that wasn't my intention. And as a leader that God has called me to be, and that has created me to be, I learned that, like, however way somebody may feel about me or may experience me is a reflection of how I treated them. So a true leader is, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, you're just being too soft, or you're just being whatever. It's like, no, like, I gotta really hear you in those moments and respect the fact that you really don't appreciate how how you're experiencing me. And reading a lot of books, a lot of John Maxwell books, where learning how to transition, and deliver a certain message a certain way, where it's like, it can sound the same while as if I'm talking to a man, but I gotta change it up and make it still create the same message and create the same message for a woman, but the approach gotta be different, the tone gotta be different, the language gotta be different, right? But still deliver the same message as if I was talking to a man as well. So I was never somebody that really pointed a finger. It was just like, okay, well, this is not working, so I gotta switch it up, right? I gotta do different. And I would ask certain people in my life that at the time, all right, how can I deliver this message but to a woman, right? Like, how do I do that? And them giving me language on how to do that blessed my life. And again, just applying those things that I was learning, and then also having conversations with her. It's like, okay, well, you felt a certain way during this conversation. What can I do differently? What can I have said differently that would make you feel more respected, right? Would make you feel more heard or whatever. And we'd work through those things, and it was tough conversations. Like, you gotta have a spirit of humility to even have those conversations, because as somebody like myself that grew up in a prideful environment, that ain't a question that's easy to ask, right? Like, that is a question that requires a lot of humility to even say, hey, I'm sorry, like, what can I do better? Or even to seek out other people and say, hey, this is what I said and this is how she reacted. Like, how can I be better? What can I have said to be better? Because again, if you care about something, you'd want to improve it, right? Like, we sit here, I think a lot of times we put a lot of that effort into our careers or whatever, but it's like, can we put that same energy towards our friendships, towards our relationships? Because those are the things that's gonna move us forward, like, and whether we like it or not, whether we believe it or not. And for us to sit here and still be as close as we've been, it's like, it's a testament to the work. Like, relationships is work, friendships is work.
Work.
Work. Like,
I think it's also, you have to really get to know the person that you're talking to. Like, you really have to get to it. So one of the things that CJ had to learn about me is I don't process fast.
No.
I don't process fast at all.
Gotta give it some time.
And I don't just jump into conversations. Like, if I know that we had to do like a weekly, and a lot of people do this in relationships, but it's good to do it in friendships as well. If you really want a healthy friendship, sit down and just talk. And I wouldn't say with all friendships, but this is my best friend. This is somebody that I communicate with
daily,
literally almost every day. And so if we're going to function, it's important to like take the time to like talk. So like, if he does something that like makes me mad, I'm not gonna mention it right then and there. I'm not gonna mention it right then and there. I'm gonna wait until that day, because we set a day. I'm mentally preparing to have that conversation. I'm mentally preparing for, because CJ is really like nitpicky. So he will like.
I am. I ain't gonna lie.
Literally like.
I am, bro.
And so if he would do that on a regular basis, that would piss me off.
You think I'm picking on you?
if he waits till that day, it's like
it's different.
I already set my mind to receive that, right? And then another thing we also learned was like intent versus impact. What you meant to say may not be how you came across. Yeah. So tone, because I also had to learn that because my tone is crazy. My mouth is crazy.
My favorite line, you don't even have to say it like that. You just say it like that. That's my favorite line. Like, so everything she'll say, I'm like, damn, like, I know what you meant, but you didn't have to say it like that.
But it's also great that, like, we really got the, took the time to get to know each other. Even, like, the friends that I have now, or that we have now, because my friends are his friends are my friends. Well, most of them. He got other friends. I got other friends.
Facts.
But anyways, the community that I'm involved in now, I learned how to be intentional about being a friend to them once I got comfortable. Because when I wasn't comfortable, it was like, stop talking to me. But
you can't get nothing out of that.
Now that I'm comfortable
Not a thing.
in learning everybody's personalities, I guess our friendship taught me to like really sit down, really observe how people are, because I think that's how you start the communication process. You start the boundary process, because once I learned CJ, I know how to talk to him. Once CJ learned me, he learned how to talk to me. And then, because sometimes it could be a misconstruction, or I could say something and really didn't mean it the way that it came out, but because he knows me or because they know me, they're like, oh, she didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
So that's important. I still try to stay within the boundaries of communication with people, but if I was to ever step outside of it, it's like that wasn't like ingenuine. It wasn't like something she didn't purposely mean to like hurt me, whatever. I think that's important. Even like with us, CJ's very, very, like I said, he's nitpicky. He critiques before he like applauds. Right? My love language is quality of time, but it's also words of affirmation. So not that I don't need it, like I like it, but I don't need it. It's not something that's
you gotta give it a sugar before the salt, though.
It's not, yeah. And so he would be like, I'd be like, oh, I did this today, and he'd be like, well, and it's like, well, dang.
Congratulate her first.
Yeah.
Like, it really is that simple.
That
like,
simple.
Little things like that makes a big difference.
And then because after that, it's like, all right, we get it. So we got the good stuff out the way. Now it's like, well, be mindful of this.
My brain goes into protection. So I gotta
He's like,
my brain like, oh, make sure
the big brother.
And it's like, can you just say congratulations first? Yeah. And when she said that, I was like, it made me realize that I'm operating out of where I came from rather than where I need to be. Right? And a lot of times, like my mother's like was like that. Like she'll critique first and then she'll give you my flowers. So I thought that was normal. So like I appreciated that. But I never realized how like the flowers didn't hit the same because it was so much critique before that. And now I have to intentionally tell my brain like, applaud her first. And even sometimes when I forget to do that, she be like, Sid, can we start with the sugar? And I'm like, you know what? You right, good. You doing your thing.
But he'll catch himself too.
You're doing your thing.
All right, I'm gonna give an example. The other day, so y'all don't know this, but I'm not a driver. I like to ride passenger. I'm a passenger princess.
Yes, little things, man.
And my friend took me out driving and made me drive back to church. So it was supposed to just be a parking lot thing, but he made me drive to church. Wow. So I called.
Made you. He encouraged you.
Well, no, he made me. I wouldn't have done it. I love my friend though. Oh, it's Johnny. Jonathan. Y'all seen him. Y'all know who that is. So I called C, maybe like 2 days later. I'm like, oh, guess what I did that day? I drove, da-da-da. So C did like, well, you shouldn't be practicing in this car. And I'm like, sir, I got in the car.
Flowers first.
But then he caught himself because he was like, bro, as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, I
You gotta know who you're working with.
Yeah.
Man.
So.
And I truly believe, like, in my heart, like, friendships, how you are with friendships and how you are in relationships, they're really similar, bro. Because if you got a friend that you're really invested in, it's very similar to when you got a relationship that you invested in, that you're working towards marriage, whatever the case may be, because those same things apply.
Yeah, you just have to have boundaries in your friendship. Yeah. Like, you don't want it to be like...
Gotta know your audience.
Yeah.
Gotta be intentional about, like, how you communication is not universal. Like, oh my, it's not universal. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
How you would talk to a child, you better not talk to an adult.
Listen,
like
I talk to my daughter so much differently than I talk to anybody else. And rightfully so, but I talk to her the same differently than I talk to my godson. Right? Like, it is not universal. And true leadership understands the power of adapting.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta adapt.
Because it's either you do it intentionally, like with the intent to adapt, or you're forced to do it. When you're in leadership, there's really no, oh my gosh, I get in trouble all the time because I truly am not a people's person. Meaning, if I'm not comfortable, I'm not operating out of, hey, how are you, hugging, talking to you. Like, I have to really be comfortable to just do it. If I'm not comfortable, somebody has to tell me to do it, and when somebody has to tell me to do it, that's usually when I get in trouble because it's supposed to be.
It's not happening.
Because I'm a minister, that's something that should just flow, and I have to think about that. And so, it's like you can either willingly do it or be told to do it. I don't like being told.
She don't.
I don't. That's something else I'm working on.
She don't.
You know what it is? I'm very, very like defiant. Like, I have a. Y'all know, we talked about this. I have a very, very disobedient spirit.
That's a great word.
Or I carry it. I'm not going to say I have. I carry a disobedient spirit. And so there are some times where somebody tell me to do something and I automatically be like, no. But then I have to do it.
I want to break what you just did there. I want to break that down real quick. To say that you carry versus that you are, those are two different things, dog. Because to say that you are is an identity. To say that you carry is something that you choose to do, and you can also choose to let it go.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. I just want to make that
life and death.
Like, don't identify yourself as something that you don't want to be, and then be mad that you receive what you've put out there.
I'm so glad that we took the time out to learn communication with each other, because the Bible does speak about, like, loving your neighbors. And love thy neighbors as yourself. So how I value myself is how I need to value my brother, how I need to value my sister, and that's for anybody. And I think what comes with loving, like the same way in a relationship, or the same way that I love God, I need to love His people, like as I love myself. I love myself. I love Christ. One and the same. I love Christ a little bit more than I love myself, but it's one and the same. But that's how I choose to love His people. I would tell you, I could see a homeless person I've never seen before in my life off the street, and I can tell them I love them and mean it, because the Jesus in me loves everybody.
Amen.
But it's a little bit more effort to, like, get to know somebody, to like them. I do think that there's a difference between loving and liking. While I love everybody, I don't particularly like them.
Everyone.
And that's something that I have to work on, because when I don't like you, I'm just not comfortable. And if I'm not comfortable, I'm not operating out of, like what we talked about. I'm not being really intentional when I'm not comfortable. So that's something that I've been working on myself. That's like a thing that I'm doing. I'm trying to be genuine with everyone.
I think love really speaks to communication, though, because if you really break down what love is kind, love is patient, it does not envy, it does not boast, it does not keep records of wrongs. Like, that right there is like, if you understand the true depths of that scripture, you will learn how to communicate. Like, you will learn how to have healthy communication, right? Because, and I have to say that like that, because not all communication is healthy.
Yeah. And right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I
you will learn.
My Jesus loves everybody. I love everybody. I may not like them, so I was going to talk about that too. I'm glad that we didn't end our friendship, and we learned to talk to each other. But there are some friendships that I did end because it wasn't healthy. You have to teach people how to communicate with you. You have to set up that boundary, and when they don't respect it, they shouldn't be in your life. I think a lot of love, a lot of relationship comes with respect. There are things that I do for Christ. There are things that I do for God out of the respect that I have for Him. I will not get outside and act like I don't know like I don't belong to God. And so I feel like my relationships are a reflection of me. And when I have a relationship that doesn't reflect who I am as a person, we're not in a relationship no longer. And that's friendships, that's family relationships, that's relationships. Like I don't, and I believe in setting a foundation. I will not just jump into a relationship. I do believe in setting that friendship.
Foundation is everything.
But I also believe in dating intentionally. So if I meet you and it's like established early that this is something we want to try out, I might be intentional. So there are different
expectations.
Different expectations, different parameters that I will set than a friend. So the parameters I have for CJ would be different from somebody that I'm dating. But I also believe in having a healthy friendship first.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there's a way to go around that. I will not just jump into a relationship. But we will be dating intentionally.
You will know like how much you love someone based on the level of respect that you have for that person. Because love and respect is all in the same. So communication is a big thing, man. Like I read a lot of books that was really help with that. Obviously, a lot of conversations. You gotta be intentional.
Did you tell them some of the books?
So some of the books that helped me. My favorite book.
Boundaries. Oh, I'm sorry.
Boundaries.
Gotta read boundaries. Gotta read boundaries.
I really don't.
About it.
The author. Where's your phone? I need to get the author, bro. You can listen to it on audio. I've listened to it 3 times already.
Oh, you listening to it on Scribe?
Yeah. Boundaries is a great book. Note to self. It's a warning. Go with an open mind and leave your any traumas, any issues that you've had while you're not listening to this, because that author comes at your neck. Like, yeah, she was coming at, like, she was saying some things like really, really coming at you, bro. Like, and she's very real and straightforward. So if that's not your type of communication, I just want to like encourage you to just be open to it, because she is not sugarcoating anything she's saying in that book.
That's Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend.
Yes, boundaries. And they have multiple segments of there's like boundaries in marriage, boundaries in friendships, but this is the original, just boundaries in general. So great book to read, and if you want to specify it to whatever, area of your life, you can get those books as well. My favorite book is, like I was saying, John Maxwell, Leader's Greatest Return. And the reason why that's my favorite book, man, is because it really it breaks down leadership. And I think communication is an important part of leadership as a man, for me, a black man. Like, he talks about communication, what it is and what it's not, how to build yourself as a leader and also build others as leaders, right? And I've read that book like 3 times. It's really helped me with every area of my life to really understand leadership and what it is and what it's not. If you really understand leadership, I think it's really going to help you understand the depths and the importance of communication, because communication is huge and part of leadership. Like, I'm not gonna, that's what taught me, like leadership, communication is not universal. Like, you have to change your communication style based on your audience, and that's part of being a leader. And if you're a leader in any capacity, please read that book.
And for anybody, I would say, let's say you're not a reader, because he wasn't a reader.
I'm still not a reader.
He wasn't a reader.
Not a reader.
I was, but I want to set a foundation for everybody. I think what is universal is respect. So you have to know that not everybody that you talk to is going to have the same perspective as you.
No.
Not everybody is going to agree with you.
No.
The Bible speaks a lot about like quarreling and whatever. I'll probably put the verse down here. But if somebody doesn't agree with you, if somebody has a different perspective with you, I think a lot of people know that you can disagree with somebody and still be friends. You can disagree with somebody and still respect them. And so I think all communication starts with that.
Yes. There's many times where...
like even with children and parents, right? There's a different... They see the world different. Children see the world differently.
They do.
A child is a child. They don't know a lot of things. They have to be taught. And so just understanding that they think... I think as adults, we have this expectation that they think like us, and they don't.
They don't.
So...
my baby don't.
So... knowing and accepting the fact that there's different perspectives will start a great communication with a great communication system with everybody. Dogs don't even think like how we do, and I had to learn that like with my dogs. Like, all right, how I see things, and I talk to my dog like she's human. I really do.
I swear she does.
And so I've learned certain movements that she do, certain things means this. You have to be observant, and you just have to have that mentality that not everybody, like I don't expect him to, I mean we kind of agree on a lot, but not everything that
but we have a moment
he agrees with, or not everything that he thinks I agree with, and we'll talk. But there's a way to help do that.
I remember specifically when I was on the phone with you in the car, and we was talking about like the concept between being a strong woman and a woman of strength. Mm-hmm. We spoke about that, and you didn't agree with what I was saying about it because you had your own perspective about it, and I was like, you know what? Bless you. That's okay. It's what bless you.
Thank you.
And it's okay to not be, in alignment with whoever is in your life 100% of the time, because that's the power of like free thinking. As
long as it doesn't reflect your values. There's a lot of things that we can disagree on, but we will
the
never. The
value is still the same.
My love for Christ. If you attack that, now you can attack it, but I don't have to be friends with somebody that doesn't love Christ as much. Now I have friends that are not like
I do
into their faith as I am, but I'm not attacking them. So we would never like value things. I'm not friends with people who hit women. I'm not friends with women who hit men. I'm not a domestic. I am a strong advocate for domestic violence, and so if I am your friend, and I know that that's what you're doing, we will not be friends. So there's a lot of things that we can disagree on, but when it comes to what morals,
what did you just say? What was the first thing you said?
Christ.
It's okay to be friends with someone who's not a believer, because at the end of the day, they may be at the point where they just don't know. And you might be the Bible
that somebody will never read. You might be the introduction of Jesus. So I take that really, really important. I don't turn down people because they don't believe in Christ. Yeah. My job is to share my story. My job as a Christian, my job as a minister is to share the gospel. That's my drive. That's my passion. So I will never. Jesus went everywhere.
If you're not, if you're gonna write somebody off because they don't believe in Jesus, you're not a real. You're not a real father, because you have to be the example that they see to get to know the big homie. Like if they don't see that through you, then they're not gonna want to get to know him.
Some Christians don't know how to have like a conversation. Some take it to heart. Like if I be like, oh, I don't believe in Christ, they just take it to heart. Like what, very, very defensive. But some Christians just are like scared to share Christ, and that's okay. It's your business.
You don't really believe.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna agree that you don't believe in Christ.
See,
I do believe that. I do believe that you can be a Christian and just be timid. You can be a Christian and just be. I think there's a difference between passion, and that's why some people are called to be pastors, ministers, all of that, and there's some people who just go to church and go home because there's a different passion. So yeah, I do believe that you can be a Christian and keep it to yourself.
Well, I didn't mean like they don't really believe in Jesus. I was just saying like, and I believe like if it's hard for you to be bold about Jesus, and I probably experienced this in my own life. Like it was hard for me to be bold about Jesus, but that's because I didn't really see yet the impact and his presence in my life for me to like really like get so passionate to the fact like I will defend this man from anyone that says that he doesn't really exist. So maybe that's like something that people struggle with, like they don't really see it enough.
I think because there's a boldness that like when I preach, who I am before I get behind a podium is so different. Like something happens when I get behind a podium, and I believe that's a boldness that God gave me to be able to share, and that's the same boldness when I'm in the car and somebody. I don't even bring up Jesus when I'm with people. Anytime I'm somewhere, somebody brings it up to me. I think God will place me in certain Ubers or whatever, and they be like, "Oh, where are you going?" Or this, or they could pick me up from church and then just start talking, and it's like, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this.
Let's talk.
And there's a boldness.
I know my big dog
that I get.
Do you?
And I love it. I love to talk about Christ. I have a whole show about it. I love to talk about Christ, but there's just certain things that I won't have a friend that disrespects my love for. So if somebody knows who I am, they know my values. I am celibate. I don't go out and get drunk. There's just certain things that I won't do. And so I don't really listen to secular music. I'm a gospel person.
I do.
He does, but it's not a problem.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I won't have friends that be like, "Oh, we're gonna go get drunk," or "Oh, I met this guy. I think you should go out." Like they won't do that because they respect that. They respect me and they respect my relationship with Christ. Now, if I had a friend that tests that tried to overstep that boundary, then we have to have a talk.
Boundaries.
And you only get one time to do that because after that, we're not friends anymore. You get one warning because I'm gonna tell you, like, look,
what is boundaries?
This is who I am.
Let's break that down real quick. What is boundaries?
A limit. It's
what is boundaries?
Intentional set of limitations that you give people or how to handle you.
I love that definition. Intentional limitations. What does that mean? Like
doing a new thing in me. Blessings after blessings you bring. I promise ever so graciously. Changing the world.
This is how I expect for somebody to talk to me. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a standard. Is it a standard?
It's a standard.
There's nothing wrong with having standards.
You gotta have and standards have to be applied early.
Early.
There's nothing wrong with first interaction. Set the standard. Like what we doing? Like set this.
Doing a new